Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our discussion here on financials. And we got a couple folks from SharpCFO today. I'll introduce here briefly. And we're going to be talking all about what you can do in these crazy times with the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic and the economic downturn. What's that caused, and then where are we going? What's the next steps coming out of this? So we'll be digging into what's some good stuff for you to think about as you're taking your business to growth and success over the next few months. I'm Mark Phelps with ActionCOACH, and today I'll be talking with Ryan Dietrich, who's with SharpCFO, as well as Rob Simon with SharpCFO. Ryan, how about you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Mark. It's a pleasure to be aboard here today to talk about some things that hopefully we can cover some topics that are new to some and maybe not so new, and our take on some of those things that are happening right now as we've been hearing. So as Mark said, my name is Ryan. I'm the founder of SharpCFO. We are based in Northeast Ohio. Started the company a couple of years back. We currently provide CFOs to small and medium-sized companies, and that's done on a basis of 1 to 5 days a week, depending on what the company needs.
Welcome. And Rob?
I'm Rob Simon. I actually been a CFO history-wise for over 20 years, so I have some obviously experience with it within businesses and within doing, and I'm actually in charge of business development with SharpCFO as well.
Well, wonderful. Well, guys, let's just dig in. So for business owners out there today, what are some of the things that they could be looking for from their financials, from their money, the money side of their business?
Particularly within the financial reports, I think some part of what's coming up too is well beyond maybe say monthly financials are having weekly key indicators that you're looking for to have those reported to you. So you might want to get to the standpoint of knowing what were your sales this week, what were some of your costs and what's been entered from the standpoint for this week, to try maybe get the monitoring maybe be a bit more tight, a bit more shorter, because I think in how things are progressing, what's going to progress, maybe even waiting a month or looking at things just monthly might not quite be current enough. The other aspect or idea probably to start now as well within 2020 is to have a separate recording, a separate expense code listing for new expenses and costs that are going to be associated with COVID-19. So from the standpoint of providing the mask and the PPE equipment, might be some additional aspects of cleaning that's going to have to be done. And those type of services aspects, just to have it much easier to see that separately, especially when you're trying to compare, say, periods of last year or periods of next year.
So you're looking at cleaning up the financials that people have so they have better read on going forward?
Yeah, I would say absolutely is one indicator, one must as well, in terms of having current data in and having processes and procedures of things set up by which all information is going in so that it can be obviously compiled and reported to be evaluated is absolutely a necessary need.
Excellent. So there's a lot of talk out there that cash is king. What does that mean to the small and medium-sized business owner, and what should they be doing? How much cash, for example, should they have on hand?
I think that, so this kind of goes along with number one, in my opinion, where the phrase cash is king, to me, means how much cash do you need to have that you can use right now? So liquidity, right? Like how much money is sitting in your bank account, not how much is tied up in equipment or how much is tied up in your building or something like that. People need to know exactly how much they have available in their credit lines. It's a good idea to know your business credit standing if you need to take out any additional credit right now. Even further in that is, I'm sure that you guys at ActionCOACH talk about the cash flow projections. I don't know if you do 90 days or up to 13 weeks. We recommend a 13-week rolling cash flow statement or projection. 13 weeks is really hard to project right now. So really, just knowing 4 weeks is really important, so that you know how much money you need to keep in your bank account all the time, and constant communication with your staff, with your clerks, with your bankers. I mean, your accountant. This is the time. This is the time when everybody should be looking at their books to see what they've done in the past, where they need to go with it, how they need to react, and how much money to keep to survive very short term.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think, the idea that cash is king, obviously, is the fact that you want a business to be self-generating from a cash standpoint to have what you need. But a big part of that, obviously, is you have to monitor what you have and what's coming in and what you're expecting, both from a receivable in standpoint as well as a payable out standpoint, so that you can be like I said, you need to be well geared and well understood as to where your balances are and what you have.
Gotcha. So with the many businesses that I've certainly worked with, I know that we're all very aware, a lot of them have seen their markets completely disappear or at least substantially do so. What's your advice for them as we deal with all this uncertainty and starting back up?
I'm sure that Rob also will have some things to throw in here. We've been talking to several folks that we have in our network that deal with marketing, and how do we help people to identify maybe new uses for products that they have sitting on the shelf, or if they have excess inventory, how can they get rid of some of that inventory? Like maybe, for example, a restaurant who has a ton of stuff in the cooler can host some classes online on YouTube and teach people how to cook, right? And maybe monetize that. Maybe some manufacturing companies that have been previously making a can switch over their process to making a pen. Now's really the time when the reason we all started our businesses is because we're entrepreneurs. We wanted to solve a problem. Well, now we have a new problem that we all have to learn how to solve differently, and we weren't ready to do it. That's what we do.
Interesting. Rob, anything on that?
Well, I think the main part, I think entrepreneurs and businesses owners are resilient and adjust. So, and I think that's just not any different with now and with today. So I think part of it too is a matter of looking at, are there additional services or products now that you can offer that are wanted? Has there been something that's been talked about before now that you can readily and easily branch into? It's just a matter of kind of, again, of knowing your customers, knowing your market, knowing what you can deliver and what's there. Then obviously, from standpoint even within your team itself, you can provide, I think, some insight and some help from that standpoint as to what is wanted out there as well, what is wanted out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think to kind of a little bit extra on that one is to remain vigilant with showing relevance to your network and community. So there's a guy here in town that owns a Rad Air franchise, and he is still posting Facebook Live videos where he's delivering pizzas to the police station, and he's picking people up and taking them for a ride. Like socially distant wise, he's still staying in front of his community and his network. So maybe instead of saying, I'm seeing everything dry up, just, again, find a way to stay in front of people, and it might not dry up as quickly.
Fantastic. Very positive outlook there. Thank you. So and that kind of gets us to businesses are set to reopen here in the coming weeks. A lot of questions on how that's going to go and how that's going to flow. What are some things that business owners need to be considering?
Well, with it, obviously, I think the smart thing the state's doing, obviously, they're tiering it, so it's not everybody or every business all at once. And in essence, it's really just opening businesses, not releasing any stay-at-home orders per se, but for people to get back out and get to work, which is going to be important and necessary. But I think many cases coming back, especially businesses have been shut down, is going to be those that have inventory. So we matter looking at inventory from the standpoint of what do you have, what do you need, and what do your customers want? And are there items either in any stage of inventory that have expired now that you need to replace? And then obviously in addition to that are going to be the other cases relative to policies with employees from the standpoint of the distancing that needs to be done, wearing masks, taking temperatures, having policies for that. Having policies from the standpoint if people are still going to work remotely from home, and how that's going to be handled across the board, across employees as well.
And additionally, on top of that, there's going to be some obvious safety concerns that everybody should be thinking about. Whether you believe in it or not, there's a business reason for why it's important to be aware, and that is it's a lot cheaper for a business owner to be prepared safety-wise than it is to be sued because somebody got sick in your building. Even though it might be really hard to prove in a court, it might not be because it's such an emotional time where emotion might trump fact in a courtroom, right? So now's the time for a business owner to be, if you have a contract with a cleaning company, keep a log of when the company came in to clean your building, right? Ask what kind of chemicals they use to clean your building. Maybe even ask visitors to your building or customers, as crazy as it sounds, that there's no liability on the business if you get sick while you're there. In other words, a waiver of responsibility. If you're a business owner, develop a waiver, maybe through your attorney, that anybody coming in has to sign just to protect yourself. Additionally, I mean, if you can, take temperatures at the door, whatever you really got to do to kind of protect yourself and your own assets from any claim that might be made later. An image is difficult to clean up sometimes, but it's easier to be positive and maintain a safe image early on, I think. So in my opinion, that's what they should be thinking about, as well as not overspending right now. So a lot of companies that we've noticed are upgrading their facility or their kitchen or their waiting room or whatever. Great, fine, maybe invest some into that. But be a little bit frugal. Be a little bit frugal with that money, number one. And number two, don't use PPP money for it.
So on the PPP money side, what's some advice you have for folks who are running their financials and have this money coming in or other similar monies coming in? What's some advice for them to make sure that they're in good standing as things ramp back up?
Keep track of what you're spending it on. Just have whatever you need, and keep the backup record for it as well, because you're going to need that to prove back at how the money was used relative to the possibility of the forgiveness on the PPP portion. So it's going to be very important to have, in essence, just you keep a spreadsheet running tab, quite frankly, of the amount of money you received and then each item that was spent on, realizing that it's payroll, rent, insurance premiums, debt obligations, utilities, and interest expense are all allowable. But also within that total you receive, 75% of it has to be spent on payroll for it to be forgivable to begin with. And then the other aspect is that it's also over an 8-week period of time It was adjusted whereby the 8 weeks is when the money is, 8 weeks starts when the money is received, as well. And to keep in mind, obviously, to remember the other mandates, a lot of cases where with that is that you are not going to decrease employee count either. So if you do decrease employees from what you originally reported, there will be some percentage allocations then as the money you were given. So there's going to be a portion that probably will not be part of a grant amount, and that the calculations, so to speak, too, for employees too, is also based on a full-time equivalency. So a part-time employee doesn't count as one employee. If you had 2 employees, say, working 20 hours a week, that would count as 1 employee. So there's just a few issues to watch on. Something too with that PPP, it's extremely important to have a strong relationship with your CPA and to be in touch and in concert with your CPA as well relative to that, because there are a lot of rules that are changing, and most of the rules for the forgiveness aspect are not totally finalized or written by the SBA yet. So you just need to be very, very guarded and be very, so to speak, really conservative in what you're doing with that, and to keep it reported and know what you did with it.
Gotcha.
There is a cost to that free money. It's not really free either, but there's a cost. So yeah, I mean, just to keep going on that, I mean, it's important to track what you're using it for. It will be audited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. And so, with everything that's going on, what's something that's really inspiring you? Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ryan, you're up.
Well, honestly, something that is really inspiring to me is that actually 2 things. Number one, I have more free time at home than ever before to work on things that I didn't really before this. Like, we're putting in a garden, and I can sit here and have meetings while digging holes in my garden and talk to people about these kinds of, I'm not doing that now, obviously, but it's a great opportunity to be outside and experience things you don't get time to do. Number 2, it has forced us to network in a whole different way. That is, I've spent more time on LinkedIn than I think I ever have before. Rob and I were actually on a call this morning with somebody on the West Coast that we wouldn't have met because I wouldn't have taken the time to meet somebody out there who does what he does. And it was a really great connection that we made. So I think this is the time to maximize the ability to connect with people in a different way, and new people, and to find activities that you didn't have time to do and go do something new.
Beautiful. Rob?
I see a lot of cases. I think there's, and it's just, again, goes back to the idea of business and entrepreneurs and the resiliency and the adjustment. But just there definitely is a belief and a positiveness. I think that obviously this is going to be a speed bump. It's going to probably be a big speed bump from what forecasts are now. But we'll be fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to get through this. Everything, it's all going to be good. There's obviously, yes, there's going to be some pain and some hiccups, but I think there's an aspect there of definitely everything will definitely be overcome.
Beautiful. And for those to wrap up here, for those who are watching, who want to learn more, who maybe want some advice or to understand kind of is what they're doing right, how could they be doing better to set themselves up for success going forward, what are some next steps they can take? Like, for example, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, here's our contact information. Rob and I can be reached directly by email or give us a call. Typically, email is the best way, and we're both really good at getting back with people. Of course, we're connected through you, Mark. So if anybody has any questions at all about anything we've said or wants more information, certainly you can go through Mark, or feel free to contact us here for more information. There's our website, which isn't all too inclusive of everything, because it's hard to put into words on a website everything that we're able to provide to a company. I do have several videos and articles and resources also on our website, so they can go and peruse that as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. Again, this was Ryan and Rob from SharpCFO, and this interview was brought to you by ActionCOACH. And just glad that you guys tuned in, and make the most out of the time we have ahead. Reach out to Ryan, reach out to Rob, reach out to myself, reach out to your attorneys, your accountants, anyone in your sphere. Don't go it alone. We're here together, and we can come out this stronger on the other side. Thank you so much, guys.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.